As weather gets warmer, more people spend time outside, and that means they're likely to run across ticks.
That's right. The nasty little parasites can carry diseases like Lyme disease. ABC 24's Kristen Terrell has more in tonight's Health File report. Kristen?
Well, Ken, Michelle, most of us who've spent any time outside are probably intimately familiar with ticks. Though the arachnids are a bit of a health threat, doctors don't often see Lyme disease in the Mid-South.
Lyme disease is carried by deer ticks. You can see they're very small. If you're bitten by an infected tick, this is what your rash would look like. Other symptoms are flu-like, and if it goes untreated, Lyme disease can cause permanent muscular and neurological damage. There is a new vaccine on the market.
It's not really recommended that everyone get the vaccine, really only those persons who are at most high risk in terms of occupational exposure and things like that.
Our weather, as it is in the Mid-South, many times when you get outside, especially in the woods or around the family pet, you're likely to pick up a couple of ticks. The good news is ticks in our area don't typically carry Lyme disease.
Though doctors here do see a few cases a year.
The problem is diagnosing it. Because we don't see it that often, a lot of physicians don't think of it off the top of their head.
Treatments are available in the form of antibiotics like these, but it's best you don't get that far.
The prevention is the greatest thing. When we go out, we should put DEET, D-E-E-T, on the subject, around the legs and on the clothing.
Dr. Champion recommends once you have a tick, using mineral oil or fingernail polish to smother the parasite and make it turn loose. Don't pull. Part of the tick may stay behind in your skin.
Folks, I tried to find a better way to say that at dinner time, but there just wasn't one. A tick-borne disease that's more of a problem around here is Rocky Mountain spotted fever. It exhibits many of the same symptoms as Lyme disease, and it can be fatal if it goes untreated. If you have any pets your children play with, make sure they're tick-free. Ken, Michelle?
All right. Thanks a lot. Good advice there, Kristen.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s son says it's fitting the anniversary of his father's assassination falls on Easter Sunday, eve of a new millennium. Martin Luther King III believes both events mean new beginnings. Today, King's family laid the ceremonial wreath on their father's tomb in Atlanta. The family says they'll continue to call for peace and love to all people. King's family says those are the world's greatest weapons in the fight to end nonviolence.
In Memphis, students are carrying on the King family's call for nonviolence. The Memphis NAACP Youth Council held a rally this afternoon at the National Civil Rights Museum. Members say the event is an effort to encourage young people to take a stand against the violence plaguing our communities. Students say it's important people remember violence isn't always physical.
I just want people to realize that when you do say harmful things to people, that they have feelings and they are hurt, and that you should stop to think about what you're saying first and, of course, start to love them. And
other events this weekend included yesterday's Human Love Chain, 13 miles of people holding hands as a symbol of interracial unity and neighborly love.
Now, if you're old enough to remember, you know what the date was, April 4th, 1968, and what it means. And chances are, if you were alive then, you know exactly where you were and what you were doing. It was 31 years ago today at the Lorraine Motel in downtown Memphis, assassin's bullet took the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. ABC 24's Bill Lawton spent time with two men who say it was a day they'll never forget.
Dr. King was in his room at the Lorraine Motel resting. Minutes later, reporter Paul Barnett was in the WREC newsroom taping a report. He came out of a booth and heard the call on the scanner.
As I remembered, Dr. King has been shot, or King has been shot, words to that effect. Enough for me to know what was going on.
Just blocks away, photojournalist Ernest Withers and partner Richard Jones were resting after a long day in federal court.
Relaxing, and the phone rang, and Richard's wife said, "Turn the radio on. Martin Luther King has been shot."
Mass confusion. People, you know, had heard the shot, and then, of course, the officers arriving, and then people following the ambulance and so on. In 10 minutes, you wouldn't believe the turmoil that was going on around there.
We just picked up bags and cameras and film and dashed to the Lorraine Hotel.
A friend of mine, a police officer, walked by and just kept walking and says, "Paul, he's dead."
The events that followed were seen by many through the lens of Ernest Withers, the first wreath placed on the door outside Dr. King's room at the Lorraine Motel, the body of Dr. King at Lewis Funeral Home in Memphis, awaiting its journey back to Atlanta, the casket being loaded onto an American Airlines plane dispatched to Memphis by Bobby Kennedy, and the King family, their faces still somber just days after their father's death. That's Rosa Parks on the right.
This, of course, is the march saluting the death of Martin King.
The paths of Barnett and Withers crossed that historic day in Memphis, but they both agree that they were so busy doing their jobs, they didn't stop to think of the historic implications of the moment.
But looking back, my God, you know, it's hard to believe. It was the most sad part of the whole thing, that here you are, sat here. You walked in on the King of Kings.
It's Bill Lund reporting tonight. Thank you, Bill.